But the issue has now become at Manchester United, the baggage that accompanies Paul Pogba has kind of overtaken what he's bringing to the team. But people have got to take it into a wider context now. I just think that there's not much point sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because the people above him are getting too many things wrong in terms of recruitment. But I don't think it's just Ole that's not of the caliber of winning Premier League and Champions League titles right now. I'd say probably 8 of the first team aren't of the caliber to win Champions League and Premier League. So I'd say the board isn't of the caliber to win Champions League and the Premier League. The entire squad isn't deep enough to win the Premier League and the Champions League.
Manchester United are the champions of Europe again.
Hello and welcome back to the One United podcast. I'm joined as ever by Henry. Henry, how you doing?
Could be better. You?
Yeah, could be better, definitely. And we're absolutely delighted to be joined by a presenter on Football Daily and obviously a lifelong United fan, Joe Thomlinson. Joe, how you doing?
Yeah, a bit like Henry. I could be a lot better, not going to lie.
Definitely. Well, we'll sort of steer away from the negativity for the time being. We might come back to it, but obviously it's great to have you on, Joe. So obviously we both grew up watching Football Daily. I imagine a lot of the viewers did as well. It's become a big part of the football YouTube scene now, hasn't it? So I just wanted to know, to start with, so how did you get started with Football Daily?
So originally I was obviously at university studying journalism, and I was basically offered a job at a production company called Diagonal View, and they had a channel pre-existing called Football Daily. It's very different to what it is now. It was kind of more top 10s, 2 or 3 videos a week, like Messi versus Ronaldo content, very, very basic. So came in to that production company and was fortunate enough to work on Football Daily, kind of on certain videos, progress the content a little bit, kind of to actually going daily, despite the fact that the channel's called Football Daily. It wasn't daily content. Then we kind of moved all the way up to where you see now, where it's 7 days a week across 2 channels, Snapchat show, massive Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook presences, and that's pretty much the journey. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? You sort of brought me on to my next point. Just sort of like a double-barreled question in a way. So, sort of, did you ever expect the channel to get as big as it was when you first joined? And so, what's been the secret to the channel's growth, do you think?
I think the secret to the channel's growth has probably been consistency, both in upload, timing, and titling. Sort of what you would expect from every major YouTube channel, consistency. But I don't think I expected it to grow as big in terms of brand as it is now. But the production company that Football Daily was owned by had a lot of million subscriber plus channels, so it didn't overly surprise me Football Daily as it grew to a million subscriber plus channel, because there's already brilliant people that kind of work at that production company, making fantastic videos on other things. So not overly surprised at getting to a million subscribers, maybe more surprised at sort of the growth of the brand, I'd say.
It's interesting, isn't it? Now, I wanted to move on to Sunday Vibes particularly, because that's a show that since it started, I've been sort of semi-obsessed with. I've taken it as biblical. Now, all 3 of you, yourself, the regulars, yourself, Chris and Pat, you all come across as incredibly knowledgeable. Now, is that just genuinely that you lot are sort of, you live and breathe football, or is there sort of a lot of preparation that goes into the show? Because obviously me and Henry do these shows quite a lot, and it's, when you put on the spot, it's a little bit difficult to sort of convey how much you actually know, whereas you guys never seem to have a problem.
It's a little bit of an art, I'll be honest with you, in terms of we do no research for Sunday Vibes, really. I don't sit there and go through stats and like plan what I'm going to say in general for Sunday Vibes. But because we do so much research for other shows like Top 10s and Winners and Losers and Year Around Up, UCLV Continental Club, it effectively amounts to enough research to be able to put into Sunday Vibes as like a heavy hitting product. So it's not like I would say I specifically research what I'm going to say and arguments I'm going to make. I'll obviously jot down some bullet points and things. But no, it's more the wider research that you do just in general on Football Daily in order to be able to hold your own with other people, because you can't walk into a room with Patrick Van Straat and not know what you're going to say and not have an argument prepared, because you're going to get absolutely rattled because the guy's so knowledgeable. The same with Chris, the same with Doogie. So yeah, I'd say not specific research, but in general, Football Daily's whole content plan ends up being geared towards Sunday Vibes, so it works quite well.
So you have a lot of shows like going on. How do you come up with these ideas? Because there's so many, and obviously there's so many channels doing like similar things. How do you come up with these ideas? Because we struggle at the best of times, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, originality is always going to be a problem, especially in YouTube where everything's been done. So you've kind of just got to firstly accept that nothing is truly original in the YouTube space. If it's a Q&A, somebody's done it. If it's a top 10 list, somebody's done it. Like, you've kind of just got to suck that up because it will have been done. But I think our way of kind of planning for new ideas and things is we just all sit down as a team, get a whiteboard out or a virtual whiteboard or whatever it is, like a document on Google Docs, and we just literally just hash out some ideas, things we've seen maybe outside of the world of football, use a lot of sort of GQ and Vogue and things as idea starters, and go from there, really. It's difficult to say how our ideas spring up because it might just be 1 a.m. just literally can't sleep and an idea comes to me and I'll just send it to the group chat. It's not like we sit down, have ideas, loads of ideas sessions. We maybe do like one a month, but that's generally how we come up with concepts. Yeah.
Fair enough. Now, I just sort of wanted to take it down a different route. Obviously, you are a big personality on the internet world now, and obviously that'll get you a lot of attention. Now, do you ever like particularly struggle with the sort of negative comments or anything like that? And like, well, are you a victim to them? And if so, sort of how do you handle it?
I would say, firstly, I don't think I'm actually a particularly big internet personality, like comparatively to proper YouTubers who are built their whole platform off of them. I'm more of a sort of, I would say, a presenter on a channel that has a personality than being a personality in the wider world, like I don't know, like say a Chunks or a Young Philly or a KSI, who are genuine like internet superstars. I think that obviously you're going to get hate. If you've got an opinion about football, you're going to get hate. So you've just got to, number one, deal with the fact that other people are going to have different opinions to you and accept that. And if it's personal, you've just got to realize like most of these people commenting personal negative opinions about you are probably sat at home, 14 years old, feeling a little bit lonely. And if a 14-year-old came up to you in the street and went, "Oh, you stupid, ugly idiot," you just go, "Well, here we go. Like, what are you doing?" You wouldn't bat an eyelid. So you just kind of got to take that attitude as why would it be any different online? I think that's the best way to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we just sort of wanted to move into, obviously, you've now sort of semi-transitioned into sort of mainstream media. Obviously, you've got your show with Sky Sports. So how did that come about?
That came about because Sky effectively purchased Diagonal View, which was the production company I was speaking about earlier. So they basically bought the wider reaching company. Football Daily was enveloped into the Sky Sports brand. So Football Daily now sits under Sky Sports. And I've kind of just been on shows here and there, got to know producers, got to know directors, tried to build up some personal relationships, and was offered that opportunity. Thanks to like a fantastic production team, really good producer. And yeah, just very, very fortunate to get it, really. Wouldn't say again there was any sort of plan or anything in place. It was just I was kind of feel lucky to get that role, and just kind of taking it and running with it for as long as I can before somebody realizes that I'm a bit of a fraud.
Well, just on that then, obviously you mentioned you did journalism at university, so this might have been a bit of a plan, but was there ever sort of a big plan for you personally to make it on television, or if not, sort of what did you have planned when you left university?
No, I wasn't that interested in presenting, to be totally honest with you. I was more interested in, which is kind of funny now, like written articles and like writing for somebody like the Times or something like that. When I look back on that, I think like, why was I so obsessed with that sort of career path and like that idea? Because like mainstream print media is probably struggling more so than digital media. Obviously, digital media feels like the new kid on the block a little bit, doesn't it? So yeah, that was never in my plan. And even at university, I wasn't really keen on being on screen. I was more producing, editing, writing. So I think it happened more out of necessity. We needed somebody to be on screen than me wanting to do it.
You're presenting to millions, essentially. Is there any pressure? Do you ever feel any pressure? Because obviously I guess you've got to kind of pander to the audience, I'd say. Is there any pressure to say certain things, or just to do certain things well and yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be pressure in getting your delivery right and getting what you want to say coming across and articulated well. And of course, you're always going to get anxious. I wouldn't say I really get anxious anymore about shooting football daily stuff, just because I've done it for so many years. But at the start, for sure, I was anxious every time I went to sit down to do to what I was going to say, how I'm going to look, where's my hands, like what's my hair doing. And you kind of progress past that the more you do it. I still get very anxious about the TV stuff because obviously I'm very new to that as well. So I haven't quite fully learned what I'm doing there. Each week's a bit of a learning curve for me in terms of that. But yeah, I think the pressure's always on to deliver what you want to say coherently, because there's nothing worse than having a very good point in your head and not being able to articulate it to the viewers. And that's something that a person like Patrick Van Straten can do extremely well, very, very eloquent with his wording, and it immediately makes it easily accessible for somebody at home to understand his point. And that's definitely something I continue to try and work on. And I think that's probably about 80% of the game.
Is there any big plans for the future for you? Obviously, you're into Sky work now. Is there any plans to go further than
that? No big plans at the moment. Just kind of taking it as it is, day by day, week by week, just trying to keep getting better, trying to work on what I do, and just work hard. Really, I think that's about 60% of getting to where you want to be, is just working hard, being nice, and getting the right connections. So I'm just trying my best. Really, I wouldn't say that I've got like a nailed out plan. I'm just taking it season by season, day by day.
Sounds good.
No, just one thing before we obviously move on to United. Then obviously it goes without saying you have to be a bit more sort of animated and everything than you naturally are when you're presenting in front of a camera. But I was interested to know with you and sort of curiously with Pat, because he portrays a very unique internet persona. I find he's very, very stubborn and very, I don't know how to describe it, but he gives that particular vibe. Now, do you find that yourself and Pat are majorly different off screen than you are on it, or is this, an actual sort of personality that is put on?
Oh yeah, like I don't think there's anybody putting a personality on at Football Daily at all. Like we're all different people at the end of the day, and you can't pretend to be something you're not. Like Patto, it is probably more reserved in terms of energy than me, but that's like his nature. Do you know what I mean? He's more methodical. He's probably more intelligent. He's a little bit more laid out and structured. I'm a little bit more chaotic, and that's how Pat is. And I think fair play to him for being like that on the internet, because so many people aren't true to themselves and create these sort of false images that it can be quite damaging to either them or their audience. So Patto is pretty much as you see is as you get off camera as well. And I think he's class because of that. And I think that's half the reason people love him, because he's so honest, isn't it?
Definitely. I think that portrays on the screen as well. Now, obviously, we wanted to transition to talking about United, because that's what this podcast is all about. Now, I think the big story with United at the minute has got to be the Paul Pogba situation. It feels like we as fans talk about this at least once a year now. Sort of, what are your opinions on the player, himself, and the situation going on right now with obviously Mino Raiola?
Fantastically gifted player, incredibly technical, probably one of Manchester United's best technical footballers. So I'm a big fan of Paul Pogba. I think he gets an unnecessary amount of stick for his playing style. But the issue has now become at Manchester United, the baggage that accompanies Paul Pogba has kind of overtaken what he's bringing to the team, which is sad to say, because I think on his day, he's still incredibly influential to this team. You look at when he came on last night against Leipzig, immediately changed the game. Being able to split teams, midfields with a pass, much stronger on the ball than any of our other midfielders. So you can see what he adds. But what he detracts at the moment is these off-the-field issues with his agent, Mino Raiola, that he should have more control over. And if he doesn't have more control over, then they've got a problem. I tend to kind of err towards, I still want to keep him until at least the summer. I don't want to let him go in January, because I think if you let him go in January, you're just you're losing a player from this squad in what's going to be an incredibly difficult period, and you're probably not going to replace him with the ideal candidates. You're going to have 6 months of a squad that is worse than it currently is now. And then sell him in the summer. He doesn't want to stay, let him leave, a little bit like Romelu Lukaku. I think he'll be a really, really good asset for wherever he goes, if it's Juventus, if it's PSG, if it's Madrid. Just like Romelu was a very good asset for us, but didn't quite fit in with the progress we're making, just because he wanted different things. And I think Pogba wants different things. So I'd let him go in the summer, but I will keep him in January.
Absolutely. I can't help but agreeing with you. Well, who would you replace him with then, if you had the choice?
In the summer?
Yeah.
In the summer, I think Man United need to readdress the balance of the midfield totally. For me, I don't think they'll look to replace Paul Pogba. I think they saw this incident coming with Paul Pogba, and that's the reason they signed Donny van de Beek as the sort of midfielder that can do it, or a bit of jack of all trades. And I think what they'll look to do is offload Pogba and then sign a genuine defensive midfielder that can replace Matic in the long term. A different style of player to Paul Pogba, not so rangy, not so box to box. Pogba wants to play in that 10 space Bruno's playing in. You've got Bruno to play in there. You've got Donny as a backup, and Donny can also play as an 8. So I think what United want is a genuine 6 that can sit alongside Fred, or it can sit alongside Donny, and you can rely on him to protect your back four more. So I think United will probably have a look at somebody like Zakaria. I think they'll be very keen on Camavinga. I don't think they'll get Camavinga, because I think his ambitions will be higher than Manchester United, probably more likely to see him play for Real Madrid next. But I think that's the sort of caliber of player they'll be going after, a Zakaria or a Camavinga. I just don't think a player like Ndidi is going to happen now following his injuries.
Yeah. Well, they're two names that have sort of been thrown about, and I definitely won't be opposed to him. Now, before I hand over to Henry again, I just wanted to get your thoughts on OLE at the minute, because obviously it was going well for him. We've put in a bit of a good run, and now it seems on social media that everyone's calling for his head again. So what are your sort of thoughts on him?
I've been generally OLE in. As I'm sure you guys are aware, if you watch Sunday Vibes, I'm generally the one that ends up battling Ole's case. And I'm going to maintain the stance that I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should lose his job. What I think Ole is starting to get wrong, though, is in big moments, we're too defensive. Last night against Leipzig, we didn't need to play 5 at the back with 2 defensive midfielders. We should have gone with the 4. And we should have allowed Donny van de Beek to keep hold of the ball and transition, because Leipzig were there to be got at. We could have scored goals against that Leipzig team, and we did score goals against that Leipzig team. We were too defensive, given they were going to play a false 9, in my opinion. So that was a problem for me last night, and I think that was one Ole got tactically wrong. But the reactionary way of the internet now throws everybody under the bus straight away. Over the past calendar year, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got the second most points of any manager in the Premier League. He's got more points than Lampard, more points than Guardiola, more points than Mourinho. So it's all well and good saying everybody wants Ole out, and I think Ole definitely needs to improve in big games. You can't lose 3 semi-finals, then crash out of the Champions League at the group stage. But people have got to take it into a wider context now. I just think that there's not much point sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because the people above him are getting too many things wrong in terms of recruitment. He's doing an okay job, and we've kind of got to accept until things change at a higher level, this is the ceiling we're at.
I want to ask a question related to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we'll win trophies under him? Because that's been a massive bone of contention for me. I can accept winning games. I can accept, we'll beat City. We will. It just happens, doesn't it? We seem to play poor and then beat a big team. Do you think we'll win trophies under him? That's the question.
I think it depends what kind of trophies you want to win. I think we'll definitely stand a chance of winning a League Cup and an FA Cup and a Europa League. United got to the semi-finals of 3 of them last year, and there's no reason to say we can't take that extra step this year. But if you want to win league titles and Champions Leagues, I think it's probably a step too far. But I don't think it's just OLE that's not of the caliber of winning Premier League and Champions League titles right now. I'd say probably 8 of the first team aren't of the caliber to win Champions League and Premier League. So I'd say the board isn't of the caliber to win Champions League and the Premier League. The entire squad isn't deep enough to win the Premier League and the Champions League. So to label that just at OLE, I think, is maybe a little bit harsh, because I do think he stands a chance of winning a League Cup or an FA Cup, and that's probably where this squad in terms of actual ceiling is right now.
So, say we get rid of the fridge at the back, because seriously, Maguire keeps making mistakes. I can't deal with 80 million for him. I can't deal with it. Matt is becoming too slow. These are some of the players that we picked out before who just aren't. Say we get rid of those players and it doesn't work. Who's your next manager?
Well, firstly, I like Harry Maguire, so I understand that that he is a bit of a meme on social media, but I'm a bit of a supporter of Harry Maguire. I think he's actually a very good defender. But if you were looking at managers on the market right now, you'd say it's obviously Pochettino, isn't it? That would be the name that is heavily linked to Manchester United. Do I think United would only be after him? No, I think they'd be very interested in Max Allegri as well. Obviously out of a job at the moment. Poch probably plays more to United's philosophy, historically anyway, in slightly more attacking, use of younger players. And it is quite a young squad at the moment at United. So I think Poch would do a fantastic job. But if you were Pochettino now, why would you join United?
I can see why, and here's my reasoning behind it. He joined Spurs when they were in a complete mess. They were a shambles when he joined, and he turned them into a side that got to the Champions League final. He'll look at this United, and he mentioned in that Monday Night Football interview he did with Neville and Carragher and Jones that he wanted a project, and a project for him is I'd say a 4 or 5 year period at a club, maybe even more, where he can, if he can be seen as turning this United side around after 7 or 8 years of complete disarray, and he can do it without changing the board or whatever, he will be seen as a complete genius. That there's no other way of putting it. So I think he wants a project. I think he wants a long-term project rather than just short-term like Mourinho or someone like that. And I think someone like that, it excites me.
It excites me too. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, the prospect of Pochettino being Manchester United head coach is exciting. But I think if I was Poch and I'd be looking at Zidane struggling domestically, potentially on the verge of crashing out of the Champions League tonight. We don't know whether or not that's happened yet. Barcelona all over the place. I know that he said that he wouldn't manage there because of his Espanyol connection. Thomas Tuchel was probably 2 games away from losing his job prior to the Manchester United game. I just think that there could be in 6 months 3 much better clubs than Manchester United right now to take over and manage if you're Pochettino. I'd probably be holding my cards pretty close to my chest and taking one of those jobs before Man United. I obviously, as a fan, would love Pochettino. I think he'd be a fantastic signing for us in the head coaching position. I don't think loads would change under him because there's real problems at Manchester United that go a lot deeper than the managerial position. And at the end of the day, I'm going to say I'm still OLE in. So I just don't see it happening. I don't see Pochettino as Man United manager this season.
Fair enough. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say there's something that I know me and James have talked about before as well. There's an issue with Solskjaer. You mentioned the defensive stuff.
Yeah.
There's a style with the top managers, Klopp, Guardiola. They don't change formation to fit a different team or whatever. They have a style of play. Has Ollie got that? I've got to ask the question. Has Ollie got that?
A definitive style of play.
Yeah, definitive
No.
style. No,
Ollie doesn't have a definitive style of play for sure. But Ollie also doesn't have the assets available that some of these top managers have. I think if you were to ask, like, what would be the style of play you would say Man United should be playing with this squad?
4-3-3.
4-3-3, and who would be your midfield three?
My midfield three at the moment would be Matic, Fred, and Pogba, because Pogba's become defensively brilliant somehow. And then obviously, you've got your attacking options, which we need a right winger. There's no shame in saying that. But other than that, I'd say we've got a pretty decent squad.
So where does Bruno play?
Yeah, you'd leave out Bruno Fernandes.
Well, I would say so. Bruno played in a 10 role and almost pushed forward into against West Ham. I noticed that kind of weird position he was playing at times. He was like playing a Firmino position at times, where he pushed forward into.
Are you playing Bruno up front?
I played Bruno just there, and then Rashford and Greenwood just in front.
So that'd be your front three: Bruno, Rashford, and Greenwood. With Greenwood and Rashford as split strikers.
Yeah. Bruno,
and then a midfield three of Pogba, Fred, and Matic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, immediately, I would say, where's the width?
The width comes from your attacking strikers, your wide strikers.
So you're getting if I was Ollie, I would be looking at Greenwood. I would say, and where do I want Greenwood operating? Within the lines of the penalty box. I want him in the box scoring goals. I don't want him floating out wide right.
I understand that, but he scored most of his goals coming in from the right hand side last year. And this year, I'm not going to lie, I think he struggled in the box.
But he was playing as a genuine right winger.
So yesterday we played 7 at the back, and then we played Bruno, Rashford, and Greenwood.
Yeah.
When Pogba came on, and it was still essentially a similar formation because there was no extra attackers, it worked because Bruno was able to drop in and then play forward and feed the wide strikers essentially, and we were getting him behind for fun. And I think that you've got.
I'm not convinced about having Greenwood and Rashford as split strikers.
4-2-3-1 doesn't work with this side, and if you're going to play 4-3-3, I guess you'd have to play Matic and Fred, and Bruno, because you can't play Pogba and Van der Beek in there because they're not defensive enough.
But this is the issue. Even as the 4-3-3 we're labeling here as we would like to see, or whatever, or Henry would like to see, it's more still doesn't give you a discernible style of play. Is the discernible style of play now having a false nine with two split strikers?
Yeah. The thing with me with Solskjaer is, and it was mentioned again yesterday, managers have come into, so Jurgen Klopp and Guardiola have come in with their style of play, and they've got rid of anyone who doesn't fit their style of play.
I don't think that's true, though. I think Pep Guardiola has adapted his style of play massively over the last maybe even 6 months. Who's played up front as their number 9?
So
Sergio Aguero.
That's sort of understandable because Jesus and Aguero have been injured, so they've had to play Sterling there at times, which doesn't work because he's really short. So. But with Klopp, there is a style of play that they play every game. Yeah. You can tell what they're going to do.
I totally agree. But equally, Klopp has been able to recruit perfectly for his 4-3-3 formation. Yeah. Ollie wanted a right winger to play on the right in a 4-3-3. Who did we get?
Cavani.
We didn't. We got Pellistri, who's gone straight into the under-21s. Diallo, who can't get a work permit. He wanted a centre-back. Didn't get one. Wanted a defensive midfielder. Didn't get one. Got a left-back. It was apparently unbelievable going forward in Portugal. He can't cross the ball, Telles.
Well.
I know we're only 5 games in, so I'm not writing the guy off, but he started slowly.
I'm going to argue to the contrary with that because I think that if you've got a player like Cavani in the box, then 1 or 2 crosses a game are going to go into the right areas, and it's more like Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. Personally, I don't think they're fantastic at crossing. It's percentage balls. They hit 20 crosses a game. 1 or 2 is going to go in, but those 1 or 2 are fantastic when they do.
No, but the balls into the box from Trent and Robert, you can't compare to Telles and Wan-Bissaka, man. They're actual deliveries.
You can't compare to Wan-Bissaka. Me and James had this conversation. I love Wan-Bissaka tackling people. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about not being able to cross a ball, that's like the.
But this is a huge issue for Manchester United. The lopsided nature of our team. We have no attacks down the right-hand side because Aaron Wan-Bissaka can't get to the byline, and in front of him he doesn't have a winger. So this is another issue that Ollie's trying to plug holes with because the recruitment was so bad.
Well, he's got to get a style, and I think that if Poch came in, he would. I know you've got to cater to the players there to a degree, but he's got rid of Lukaku. He's brought in essentially a back four. Has Ole, obviously, with Wan-Bissaka, Telles, and Maguire being the main ones in that. And then, I understand he hasn't been given the right tools to a level, but you can't chop and change formations with this team. You've got to find one formation. And I think if you're still looking for that formation after a year and a half, you're struggling.
I don't get me wrong. I definitely think United need more consistency, but I think it's a harsh stick to beat him with to say you should have played. How would you have played last night, for instance, with this discernible style of play?
I would not have played 5 at the back. That's risky as it is. I would have played a dive in the midfield.
Okay.
That seemed because it worked the first game against Leipzig. So you play Bruno at the tip, you play Pogba, and you play Van der Beek, and you play obviously Fred couldn't play yesterday, so McTominay on there.
But that's a massive issue, isn't it? Not having Fred at the base of that midfield.
It's
a huge drop to McTominay and Matic.
It is, but City can have Rodri can get sent off, or just bring on Fernandinho.
But again, that's recruitment, isn't it?
But we've got depth in there to a level, but at the same time, he should not have played 7 at the back yesterday.
I totally agree that I think that was one of the rare instances that it's been horribly wrong. But I just think I don't think he's got the tools to play this immediately discernible style of play, and I think that's potentially like people saying that we should be playing 4-3-3 every week, same players, same way of playing. I don't believe that happens at many clubs outside of Liverpool. Most top European clubs, especially with the volume of games this season, are chopping and changing styles, formations, and personnel.
Is it frustrating for you as a United fan? Watching last night was just,
it's obviously frustrating. Of course it's frustrating, but did you expect to get out of that group when we were in it? I didn't.
No, I think that we put ourselves in such a good position, and we spoke about this before you came on with we put ourselves in such a fantastic position, and then we lost away to Istanbul.
Yeah, that was the result that killed us. That was the absolute result that killed us.
Who are 8th in their league, and they just drew at the weekend, drew to a team that are 17th in their league.
Yeah.
In home, and I watched them and I was like, "What? How can we lose to this lot? Seriously, it's just baffling for me." So we put ourselves in a fantastic position, and then we essentially threw it all away. And the Leipzig and PSG games, we were hopeful because we'd beaten them before. But reality is Leipzig are very well tactically drilled. And James mentioned to me, they played no strikers yesterday and they beat us.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't think that's because they played no strikers, they beat us.
I think it's tactical knowledge. Angelino was in back post every single, the first 15 minutes, you couldn't get hold of him. And he was the problem. And it was, we can't start games. We can't start games. You might as well just turn it on at half time because,
Mate, I totally agree with you, but I think the solution's not as glaring as just sacking Ole. I think it's so many problems at Manchester United that sacking Ole effectively solves nothing.
No, I agree to a level, but obviously I'm not as Ole-in as other people, as some will know. But hey ho.
Well, it's definitely a discussion we'd all love to talk about for hours, but I understand, Joe, you've got to get off, haven't you, soon? So we'll sort of wrap it up there. So Joe, it's been really brilliant to talk to you. Thanks for coming on and helping us out.
No worries, lads.
As ever, Henry, thanks for joining me. And if you've enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. Obviously, if you somehow haven't, go and check out Joe on Football Daily. Yeah. But on that note, we'll see you next time.